All right, we're here with another Newsday. Bill Harvey's next week, right?
Next week, yeah.
Next week. William King Harvey. That's going to be interesting. I thought I'd start the episode out. We don't always start it with the good news, but you just sent this to me literally minutes ago.
I know, yeah.
I'm like, this is a good way to start the show.
Absolutely. It's the first time in 29 years, according to Rasmussen. They've never had it as a polling organization. I don't know what Rich is getting, but Rasmussen, a fairly legitimate organization, says nobody has hit 50% in 29 years.
Yeah, I don't know if it's 29 or 26, but yeah, it's
whatever their length is as a company, they said.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which, I mean, it makes sense though, because a lot of it is like, they didn't start until it's like 20 something. They didn't start until post 9/11. We were in Iraq war, and it has kind of been garbage. And then when we go into the financial crisis in 2008, that was horrible. We never really pulled out of that completely. And this is the first time. And I was
shocking. I mean, obviously a lot of stuff has happened in a quarter of a century, you know, good and bad. But sure. I had no idea that it was never at 50 for anything, for any minute.
Yeah. No,
I mean, it's a lot of shit has happened, Eric, in 50 in a quarter of a century.
I agree. And by the way, I don't know if it's an age thing or whatever, but I still can't believe we're 25 years into this century. I feel like the 90s wasn't that long ago. You know, it's like, oh, that was just
for you. For me, it was 2 minutes ago. For you, it was
exactly.
I mean, I'm older than you.
I know, and it's mind-boggling to me.
It is. It goes so fast. You know, Eric and I were talking about Tim Pool on Bill Maher the other night, and they were talking about age a lot. They were talking about generational stuff a lot. Generation Z and the millennials and the boomers, and Tim being 39 and Bill being 69, or roughly, a 30-year gap between the two of them. And he was educating Bill Maher quite a bit, Eric, right?
Oh, he very much. You and I have both met him, and that's the funny thing is Tim Pool's a very sharp dude.
Dude, I say that very rarely about anybody, simply because it's just true. But he is not one of them. He's not. I could talk to that guy for days. And
Bill Maher was.
Bill Maher
he couldn't handle it. It was funny because
it was like overloaded.
Dismantled him, and not meanly, just talking to him. Bill Maher would go down one of his bunny trails, and then Tim Pool would just dismantle it.
But politely, okay. He did it so politely. Yeah, and then I realized late in the show, he finally explained who he was. And like the rest of us, he's a blue collar kid. His father was a fireman in Chicago, and my dad was a mechanic at a Kennedy airport. I mean, there's a lot of people like that out there who have worked their way into media now. Matt Taibbi, another one. I mean, a lot of these people come from working class roots now, which was not the case up until, the era of Trump. It was all Harvard all the time. You know what I mean? It was all legacy media, Harvard, Ivy League cats. Same thing in Hollywood. I mean, every screenwriter apparently had to go to Harvard. Why they didn't become scientists is, another question. But they gravitate towards media now. But now, I mean, look at Tim Pool. He doesn't know whether to quit and go farm in Montana like he was talking about, Eric.
Yeah, he's such an interesting guy on that, but he has some valid points. And to be honest, I don't know how the hell he's done it, because we met him, and I've met him before. And a couple of years ago when I saw him the first time, I was tracking his day. What did he do that day?
Yeah.
And he gets up, I think he's up by 7, 8 in the morning. He's in the office by 10 o'clock. He doesn't film it at his house. He goes in, he lives somewhere else.
Yeah.
He goes in and he films for 2-3 hours, putting out content. Then he plays around skateboarding or whatever it is. But then he's working all the way till 11 o'clock at night. Because if you look at Timcast IRL, which I was on, it's 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. And then there's another hour for the paying people, he's doing that 5 days a week. So it's 16-hour days, 5 days a week. And he's been doing it since 2020 or before.
I mean, it really is unbelievable. You're talking about he just got married to his high school sweetheart, just had a baby, and he said we could literally quit now. He said, but I feel guilty for the audience and also his employees. And Bill Maher, of course, completely says, fuck them, immediately just says, fuck them all. And who cares about your audience? I mean, it's a reflection of Bill Maher. And he says, who cares about your employees? You know what I mean? But apparently Tim Pool does, and it's separating him from Bill Maher.
Yeah, he does. And he also mentioned that, some of these people moved to be out there and be on the show with him, following him wherever.
Right. And he says it's accessible to DC, which theoretically it is, but holy crap, what a trip. I mean, you might as well, for me, I just flew, went to a hotel in the middle of the night, dark, a guy driving me, not speaking. 6 o'clock in the morning, somebody picks you up, you can't even speak. And next thing you know, you're doing the show Culture Wars at 9 o'clock in the morning.
No, there is that. He moved location. So he was a half hour closer to DC before that.
Okay. So now it's like an hour and a half, right?
Right. And
oh my God.
Talking to the individual who drove me out there, he said that's lost them.
Definitely.
A lot of the Congress people, like I think only Nancy Mays is the last one who's gone out there, because within an hour they could pull even Congress people or whatever, but that 90 minutes starts to push it out too far. Now you've got a 3-hour round trip.
It's the same thing with Luke. Luke only has in-house in Miami. I mean, you have to be in Miami. I've been in West Palm Beach, done Luke's show, and I got to drive for an hour to go from West Palm to Miami to do this guy's show. I mean, how many people are in Miami? I mean, obviously Trump now in Florida has, there's more people around, but if you're not in New York or LA, it's iffy. It's iffy. Yeah. I mean, Corolla and Drew and others in LA and, whoever is in New York is in New York. But these other outposts are sketchy.
Well, they're starting to build up, though. I mean, Austin is getting some density, especially with the comic world. Nashville is getting a bit of density with Daily Wire and other things. So it does seem like it is slightly diversified. I'm not even going to say that it's close, but there's far more people in different areas than they used to be.
Right. Where is Patrick Bet-David? Florida? He's in Miami?
He's also in Miami area.
Right. So they have to fly you in. But you know what? I don't want to fly into do some show. I'm honest. I mean, I did it with Tim Pool, because you were going and I was going and it would help the show, whatever. But dude, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I mean, if you can do it remote, do it remote. I mean, what was the upside of me going all the way there to go into his play? It didn't seem to make any difference, Eric.
I mean,
I appreciate meeting him and hanging. Right. I mean, I like it, but really 7,000 miles?
Well, for me, Tim Pool is following Joe Rogan in that. Joe Rogan always wants a person in the studio. There's only one person who has not appeared in studio with Joe Rogan, and that was Edward Snowden, for obvious reasons.
But I would go to him because it's Texas, and it's like, I can make that happen.
Well, he's also Joe Rogan. So
but I mean, it's Joe Rogan plus it's Austin, nearby. But and by the way, Rogan, if you read this article yesterday, Rogan has quit drinking alcohol and embraced Christianity. I don't know what that's about. But
Christianity, I didn't hear that. I knew he quit drinking.
He's got a minister now. This guy, bro.
What, Russell Brand attack him?
No, it's just when you quit drinking, you have to find something to replace it. And a lot of people replace it or attempt to replace it with religion. It lasts this is just anecdotal, like 1 to 3, 4 years. Where you could be on that religious pink cloud and not use drugs and alcohol. I don't know what his status is, but apparently he said it was affecting his life. And now the same thing happened to Alex Jones. Alex Jones quit drinking. Let me tell you something. You don't quit drinking in your 40s and 50s unless it's a fucking problem. You know what I mean? People just don't wake up and say, you know what? I've had enough. It's usually a problem. Well, but God bless them both. I mean, God bless them.
Alex Jones definitely has been on and off having a problem with
it. By his own admission. Yeah.
open with that. And he's got problems in his second marriage. I think there's some charges, possibly, different things, whatever. I don't know all the details, but to his credit, he's been getting extremely fit. He's got a personal trainer.
Great. He looks great. Yeah.
Looks super healthy.
I wish he'd stop attacking Israel, but he looks marvelous.
While he's attacking Israel, right?
While he's attacking Israel, he must have laid off the heavy Jewish food.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and look at we're talking about the alternative media world, so let's look at the mainstream media world.
Oh yeah.
And NPR is not happy at all. Trump cut off their funding. Boo-hoo. And so now they're suing him.
Right. What else is news?
Over free speech. Now, how is that related to free FNC?
It's not at all. It's financial speech is what they want. Well, they half of their money, well, I don't know the percentage. They do raise money and they do sell commercials now. Who's knocking them out? Go raise money. Knock yourself out. You're just not getting it from me and Eric.
As a matter of fact, one of the, I think, former president of NPR, or whatever their role name is, has come out and he said that he felt that NPR should stop accepting federal money. It's like just go as an independent organization, sell advertising, and then you don't have any obligation. You can't get in any trouble.
Eric. Yeah, they want it both ways.
Sure.
I mean, and Harvard could do whatever they want if they would turn down the billions in federal aid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know why they don't just turn it down. They seem to have a nest egg of trillions.
Oh God, they have so much money.
Right. I mean, why is Harvard demanding our tax dollars?
Because they can get it. I mean, it's like,
well, they can't get it anymore. I mean, things have changed.
But no, he's frozen all grants to Harvard, which is fine by me. Their endowment fund is in the billions.
Right.
In the billions.
I am shocked as how aggressive, pleasantly shocked how aggressively he is going after these Marxist universities. I never thought he would be this aggressive this fast, Eric.
Well, I would argue that is one of the most critical things for him to do. Because that is half of what trained the woke media. It's coming from the universities. So by aggressively attacking them, everything else, he's saving us 20 years from now. He's potentially saving Gen Alpha that's coming up. And it is urgent. The universities are beyond the pale, and the more elite they are, the worse they are. I wouldn't mind seeing them be completely uprooted and removed. And one thing nice, it's not only Trump though that's taken them out. AI is starting to destroy them.
Well, AI is trying to take out Google. I mean, they're down 30% in Google searches, Eric.
They for the first time, yes, they are in Google searches. However, what is the hottest new AI product around?
Grok.
No. That's XAI is nice. No, Google just released VO 3. Have you seen all those extraordinary video shorts that look absolutely real, like in man on the street interviews and video clips and things like that? That's Google's AI. They are coming strong. Gemini is starting to get
we need legislation to deal with this because it's going to be used as a weapon in 5 minutes by politicians.
Oh, it already is.
I know. I'm saying we need legislation in 5 minutes. I mean, we literally need to regulate this thing.
It is going to be extraordinarily difficult to do, but a good example is Macron, the face push or slap or whatever it was.
I thought that was a straight arm by a running back. I've never seen a stiff arm like that since Paul Horning, the Green Bay Packers. I mean, what a stiff arm by that 72-year-old man or woman or whatever the hell she is. I mean, she got right up under his helmet, right under the chin, and took the ball in from that 30 yards out, I think. Wow. What a move to the face, Hunley.
Yeah, but what was the first thing though that was it Champs-Elysees or the castle or their presidential headquarters said? Oh, it was an AI generated video.
Oh, that's what they're
but then they got snowed. They couldn't keep it up, and they were like,
"Oh." What about the fake takes? What about when they were saying on CNN that these were phony takes, fake takes of the video.
Deep fake or not,
deep fake. No, they were saying
cheap
fakes. Yep. Cheap fakes of Biden wandering off at some European, it was the thing for Normandy. We wandered off into a field somewhere and was looking for unexploded landmines.
Yeah. Well, guess what? We're getting to the point where it's going to be really hard to tell because they are getting good.
Yeah.
Extremely good.
Well, it's got to be regulated. It's going to be abused so much that people are going to lose their minds very quickly, I think.
Yeah, I don't it's so hard to regulate something though when it's out there. You know, when you can't control the means. What are you going to do? Shut down?
I don't know.
Every site?
I'm not.
It's hard.
A tech guy, but something's got to give. You can't let this thing just alter the fabric of society all 24/7. Because as we've seen, you and I, they will abuse the shit out of this until the whole world just has their heads on backwards. They'll go crazy with this stuff.
Oh yeah. Again, already are. I mean, I played multiple clips, which the way I choose it though is if it's obviously parody or obviously goofy and over the top, then I think it's fine. Share that. But where it's going to get really bad is in the subtleties, like adding in 3 extra frames. Like imagine if there was a new Zapruder film and we had
just going to say the same thing.
Yeah, oh my God!
Just going to say that.
You would legitimately have a giant.
You'd lose your mind. And I'm sure they're working on it right now. They're going to say they found this new version of it somewhere in the archives, and they'll make up a whole crazy backstory, Eric.
Yeah, and Hollywood is in trouble. OnlyFans. That's an interesting place where you're going to see AI heading up because.
Is this going to affect my Japanese sex robot business that I started, or the sex robots? Physically, because you're ordering.
It is physical, so
right. I don't think this is not an online OnlyFans type thing like you're talking about.
No. Anything online is potentially in trouble for, but it is sort of funny how this broke down. And Simon Sinek was talking about it, and others have too. Remember in the 60s, 70s, etc., when the robots started to come in and replace employees, in the assembly lines and what have you, and the people who have been working for generations, they were like, my father worked at the factory, I worked at the factory, blah, blah, blah. Hey, sorry, go retool.
Yeah.
And the people who told
learn to code.
What were they telling them to do? They were saying, oh, get a professional class job.
Yeah.
Well, guess who was being attacked now?
Professional class.
You can't make this up because remember learn to code?
Yeah.
When people are losing the jobs and all the journalists said, learn to code, man. Learn to code. Now, guess what? AI does the coding and you can go be a plumber. Plumbers get paid pretty damn well and they're not worried about AI. Carpenters aren't worried about AI.
I saw this funny plumber commercial yesterday. It was for, what's that company? It's a female name that Angie's List. Right?
Angie's List, yeah.
So it was a big, fat, smelly white guy plumber. And I'm going, it's the plumber I use, right? And they showed him, and he was like trying to fix a leak. It was spraying in his face. And then they show a young, biracial, black male model of a plumber who comes in all sexy like and fixes some leak under the kitchen sink. And I'm going like, dude, if that guy ever came in my house, I would shut the door and say, where's the fucking plumber? I want a big, fat, dirty, smelly plumber which has happened, to come into my house. I don't need a male model telling me he's a plumber. It was the funniest commercial. It's being run by Angie's List. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but I want the big, fat guy with his ass sticking out under the sink.
And what you're trying to say is you don't want to be confused.
Right. I want you to look like your job. This has been my bone of contention for decades. You need, and I appreciate when people look like their job. I was flying back from Hawaii and the pilot came out after the plane. The guy looked like he came out of Central Casting. White hair, an older gentleman, maybe, 58.
He looked like Dr. Drew.
He looked like he was 58 years old, like he's been a pilot since he was 9, right? And I went, oh, thank God. I saw him getting on the plane into the seat. And what they do is, I'll tell you, there's an interesting move they make. When he comes out to go to the bathroom, there's a bathroom right there. They take the drink cart and they block the aisle
Smart.
And I didn't notice that. I saw it like 3 times when I was flying this time. And they block you with a guy leaning on it so he could go to the bathroom. So you can't make a mad dash for the cockpit.
That's smart.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know what they were doing. Anyway, the guy looked like his job, which I really appreciated.
Well, okay. Well, on that note, there is a South Park episode that came out last year that everyone should take a look at, and is essentially about a handyman. And ultimately, the handyman became the richest person in the world because nobody can do anything.
Right.
And so he's driving a Rolls Royce, and everybody's like, "Come on, can you hook me up? Can you hook me up? Can you do this? Can you do that?"
Well, that was what Carolla was talking about on his show yesterday. He in his show here, he was saying that all of these people that he knows can't do anything because they're all in media, and they need people like him to fix things because they can't fix a goddamn thing themselves.
Yeah, and he likes to do it. So he's in that unique spot. Like his house, I believe he kind of renovated himself, like the entire house, ultimately the Hollywood Hills house.
Right.
And he just likes working with his hands, and I can definitely appreciate that.
Well, he was talking about the fact that Karen Bass came out yesterday, his big story here, that she said we're way ahead of schedule on rebuilding the homes in Pacific Palisades.
The one house.
And there's one house, they flew a drone over it, and it's just wood. It's obviously just being framed, a new house. The lies are so big by the Marxist, Eric, and you know this better than anyone. They lie so bigly that it's just breathtaking. I mean, there is literally one house being built in Pacific Palisades, and Karen Bass comes out and says we're way ahead of schedule in rebuilding homes. And there's 16,000 homes that have been destroyed. There's one that's been being started to be rebuilt.
Yeah,
and Carolla's been
shameless.
On this thing.
Shameless.
It really is shameless. Carolla's been on this since day one. When I was in Hawaii, I didn't go to Maui intentionally because they literally have, since the Maui fires, like 25 homes have been rebuilt in Maui. The same situation there.
Well, the problem is, though, you and I are kind of like, yeah, no shit, no surprise. You hear Carolla, like, of course not. Everybody that we listen to or whatever with, on the right wing, whatever you want to call it, even Bill Maher probably would be like, yeah, she's full of shit.
Right. But he has said that.
Unfortunately, it doesn't go any farther. You have the idiots like Jake Tapper who, waits and then writes an entire book to state, oh yeah, Joe Biden was in horrible shape, which everyone who leans right or libertarian has been saying now since 2019.
Is it that they're in a silo, Eric, or are they just ignoring it on purpose, or both?
Well, I think Sam Harris, scumbag that he is, actually put words to what it is. And he said, I would rather have a person who's comatose run by a committee behind him than Trump. He kind of
but that wasn't the alternative. The alternative, if you analyze what Harris said, the real alternative was Harris.
No, Sam Harris. Yeah.
Sam Harris reluctantly did not intellectually answer his own question because the answer was not Trump. The answer is Kamala Harris. Because if he's 25th Amendmented, which he should have been, she would replace him, not Trump. So I don't know what Sam Harris is talking about. He's got a secret cabal of people with an auto pen boxing out a duly elected vice president of the United States.
But that's what Sam Harris would prefer over the idea that Trump could win. And because he was going all the way back to 2020.
Right.
And they're hiding all this shit because they did. It started in 2017.
Well, it started in 2017. Eric is right.
So that's what I'm saying. Sam Harris, I think, actually just spoke the truth for a lot of people.
But the double truth is really that the Harris camp should be upset. The Harris camp, because now Antonio Villagrosa was on with Alec Michelson the other night on Fox here because he is the biggest name running for governor in California. And he is a former mayor of Los Angeles, and he's the only named guy in there right now. And he is going after Kamala Harris every day, who is in absentia because she has not put herself into the race yet. So he is saying, how could she not have known? She had lunch with him once a week for 4 years. And he's absolutely correct. And he's the only guy in the Democratic Party Now, admittedly so, this is self-serving because he thinks he's going to run against her. But nevertheless, he's the only guy in the Democratic Party in media who is attacking her for not calling out the brain-dead president.
Yeah. No.
Wow. Wow.
It will not only not calling it out, it was her job to initiate the 25th Amendment.
Right. But she could have made hay by saying, look, you go to him privately 3 or 4 times. It doesn't work. Now you start leaking stuff out of your office, and then eventually you make a speech. It's not rocket science. It could have been done. They chose to have the Communist Party run by a Politburo, a Soviet Politburo, as pointed out yesterday by the people who allegedly have the auto pen. Now, that being said, unless heads roll, these are just theories. Unless people are indicted, these are just historical oddities.
Right. Well, I want to point out something too, because I love how they love going into it and blaming Joe Biden that if he had gotten out earlier, she could have had more of a ramp. She only had 140 days. I would argue that if she only had 30 to 40 days, she might be president.
Right.
The longer she had, the worse it was going to be. Every minute that people actually look at that creature going around.
That's why they had the little window.
That's what she's doing now.
That's why they went with a little window, and that's why she's doing it again in California. She is not going to. I think it's March of 2020, 2026 in March. That you last minute to register, the end of March for governor. She's going to wait till midnight of the last fucking day, I predict, to register for the governor's race to avoid media scrutiny once again.
Oh yeah. I mean, the longer people get exposed to her, the worse it is. It's just horrible.
Well, the government is hiring a lot of new people right now. So there's a guy that RFK Jr. just hired, and his name is Matt Zorn. And Matt Zorn is now the deputy general counsel. This is not a small job. He's a deputy general counsel for the entire HHS now. And Matt Zorn he's a lawyer, but he's a specialized lawyer. And he is known as, this is not me saying this is people in DC already saying this, the psychedelic czar. And Matt Zorn is known for his legal attempts to legalize psychedelics. He is the legal Timothy Leary of the HHS now, oddly enough. And people are spooked that this guy who has been trying to legalize psychedelics and has had some success, where the numbers for youth use of psychedelics in Colorado has gone up 188%. It's terrifying that they're pushing this thing in this day and age. And apparently this is a policy that RFK wants to perpetuate.
Well, he's always been very much in favor of psychedelics in interviews that I've heard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. He's that's kind of a fad now, the quote, microdosing of shrooms and all this and that, microdosing LSD, blah, 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 for PTSD, I think is their favorite thing is
right. Well, it's a slippery slope, as I've talked about before. It's not about the Vietnam vet who's taking this for PTSD. It's the fact that it breaks out into the general culture. I'll say it again because I know you're going to say it's about you. I don't care about you. It's about the general culture and the kids ending up with psychedelics. And people who have schizoid type personality or borderline schizophrenia and a lot of other mental illnesses, it puts them over the edge. I have friends that who are now schizophrenic from the abuse of psychedelics. I don't have time to go into the whole history of psychedelic abuse. But nevertheless, it's not about you personally. It's about the mass culture at large, and making it legal spreads it to every corner of the culture. That's the problem. It's not about the one guy in the VA who they're experimenting on.
Under medical, hold on, he's under medical supervision, and has probably been diagnosed if he has a schizoid problem or does not have that. You don't just, if you let people self-medicate, then you're going to get people who could have a psychotic breakdown.
Absolutely.
Could have a lot of problems. And I think that's the biggest issue is if you say that if it is available for prescription in a very constrained manner, that's that's fine. Rather than, it's a free for all. Everybody go take
well,
some
everybody
acid,
knew
feel
this
better.
was a Trojan horse for medical marijuana. Now people just laugh at the fact that they use that Trojan horse as a Trojan horse to get medical marijuana legalized. They're doing the same thing with psychedelics, and they're going to do it with heroin, and they're going to do it with barbiturates. They want legalized drugs. And if you go down that road, you're fucked as a culture and as a country. That's where this is going. And I don't know why RFK, who knows more about drugs than anybody in elected office probably, is hiring the legal eagle in charge of legalizing psychedelics. Not a good sign. Not a good sign.
Yeah. Good with the bad. I mean, we've known that about RFK, that he has been into that type of thing. So
yeah.
All right. Well, we were talking earlier about NPR and they're suing over free speech, etc. Who doesn't really give a shit about free speech?
Who?
The Supreme Court.
Yeah. What's going on here?
So, okay, this kid wore this T-shirt. Oh, sorry about that. Which was essentially, there are only two genders.
Okay.
The school said, go take off your shirt. And he said, no. And so he's been banished from the school. And he went up and sued for this very offensive T-shirt here, Mark.
Wow.
So the Supreme Court they didn't rule against him or anything. They said, we're not going to take the case.
Yeah. Well, that's what they did with Amy Coney Barrett recusing herself in the Catholic school voucher case in Utah. Or I think it was Utah. It might have been.
Right. Only they did take the case. She just recused herself out of it. This they're not going to listen to it.
But they knew the vote was going to be 4-4, sending it back to the lower court, thereby assuring that kids in inner cities are stuck with crazy liberal teachers with purple hair because they can't get school vouchers to go to Catholic school. Barnes was talking about it might have been some Presbyterian original.
The Protestant versus Catholic. He would know that because
he would know. I don't know that, but I'm
saying Barnes is from the South, and there's definitely a
anti-Catholic thing down there.
There's a friction between the Baptists and the Catholics, and remember JFK. One of the countries they don't really talk about much anymore, but they hated the idea of a Catholic president. That was a big deal.
He had to come out and not denounce, but he had to come out and say, I'm not going to listen to the Pope in Vatican City. He had to make a whole statement about it. Big problem in West Virginia. That being said, by her recusing herself, she knew that would be a 4-4 deadlock. She knew the votes already lined up. And now these kids are stuck without vouchers. Now, Barnes said the case is going to resurface, so it might not be the end of the world.
Yeah, but then again, if she's still sitting there, it can resurface and she can recuse herself again.
I think he said that too. Yeah. This chick's a nightmare, bro.
Oh God, if we get rid of Roberts and they get somebody else in there, boy, that would be a great deal. But he's too damn young. Okay. Hey,
what do you think? We got legal problems. Look at the British. This guy was arrested for, again, these videos keep surfacing out of the UK. I'm talking about free speech, is why I'm mentioning it. Sure. He merely said, God bless Israel and God bless the Jewish people, immediately arrested by British police for saying, God bless Israel, God bless the Jewish people. I mean, this thing's insane, Eric. This is way beyond anything we've ever seen here. Trump, as I understand, sending vans to England now to try to meet with Starmer about their draconian anti-free speech policies.
There is a how do I put it? They sent a team of free speech, team in March.
Yeah,
because I think you sent me something on it. It was actually in March that they sent some sort of finding mission there. We'll see what happens. I mean,
I got you.
It's a nightmare. You've got King Charles in Canada right now, holding the flag up to supposedly, throw their weight behind Canada, not being the 51st state.
Right.
Making
maybe they should merge. Maybe the UK should merge with Canada.
Well, it is a Commonwealth country, right?
Right. I mean, that might be something. And then Quebec could be part of France again. That may answer all the problems.
Yeah, who knows? Well, you know who's probably feeling a lot better?
Who?
Well, this goes all the way back to the formation of our show, but I guess it wraps it up now. Hannah is out.
Go ahead. She served every single day of her sentence, Eric. 18 months to the day, and now 5 years probation, from what I understand. So it's not over yet. And the actual killer who went free, whether you think he did it intentionally or not, has his reality show that he rolls around with these children in all day and night.
Okay, I'm not happy about Baldwin, but I don't feel that much sympathy for Hannah. I mean, sorry. Especially when you look at her phone calls that came out of that was pretty. She burned herself at the end because they were going to shorten the sentence, and she was like, "Oh, this is going to screw up my modeling." And
no, I'm just saying, if everybody went down, like the AD who walked, Baldwin who walked, I couldn't care less if she went with him. That should have been the way to go. Is
the line producer would be a good one too,
and the line producer should have gone down. But to make her the scapegoat, she's clearly a scapegoat by anybody's definition of a legal scapegoat, because everybody else skated. That's the
I'm going to push on that though. She's not a scapegoat because she's the one who brought the live ammo on the set.
She didn't shoot the woman in the head, in the chest, and the other guy through the arm.
No, she just loaded the damn bullet that caused them to die.
Again, the AD pled guilty to doing it. The AD pled guilty.
He did not load it. He did
pled
not
guilty
make sure
to loading it. He pled guilty.
He did not. He did not. You were 100% factually incorrect. He did not plead guilty to loading the weapon.
Look at what he pled to.
He pled to not checking her work, her load. She loaded the gun. That's a fact.
So I don't think so. I don't think so. But let's get to another gun story, which I think you're going to like, because this involves conspiracy, and nobody's covered this. And I think you will prefer this story. It involves Elias Rodriguez, the killer of the 2 Israeli embassy officials this week. And the conspiracy that's bubbling underneath the balls of Kash Patel and Dan Bongino is the fact that Rodriguez flew through TSA-controlled airspace from Chicago to Washington, D.C., somehow got a 9mm automatic weapon, stalked these people with information that no one had because of Israeli security of the seminar that they were at, waited for them outside, and somehow with a handgun that nobody has explained how he got his hands on, assassinated these 2 Israeli officials. And no one in the media is questioning this, Eric. Just thought I'd bring it up.
No, I mean, what is your speculation? Where are you getting it?
He has a conspirator who worked with him in D.C. That's what everyone in my world is saying. Everyone in my orbit is saying somebody gave him that gun. He lands in D.C. He's not carrying that gun on board his on the flight. How does he get a gun the next day to assassinate these 2 people? How does he have the information? How does he know who they are? How does he know what they're going to come outside? There's a million questions. Not one question has been raised in this case, Eric, by Kash Patel or Dan Bongino. Forget about NBC News. I'm not expecting them to bring it up.
Sure.
It's across the street from the J. Edgar Hoover building, for Christ's sakes.
No, I understand that. Well, when we say that, though, was a conspirator? Was he able to buy a gun off the street? I mean, I really don't know,
right,
how the breakdown would be.
Wouldn't you like to know?
Of course, I'd like to know, and I don't know that they're not investigating it.
Okay.
I don't.
Again, they, like Barnes was saying yesterday, nothing to see here about the 2 assassination attempts, and I'm saying nothing to see here about the Israeli assassination attempt. Now, there seems to be a free fire zone on these assassination attempts where it's just a vacuum of no information. Matthew Crooks is not given any information. Ruth out of the Ukraine is not giving us any information. This thing now, no information, how we got the gun. With the other cases, we at least knew that the weapons were purchased by them. This guy literally flew in from Chicago, from O'Hare Airport, without a weapon. The next day, he's assassinating 2 Israelis. You're telling me that's not a conspiracy? That's insane.
Right. Well, possibly. I mean, I don't know. I don't know who, what, and by conspiracy, it could be he has a buddy who lives there who gave it to him. So I don't, I just want to go in a different level.
It makes you think, doesn't it, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. He should be thoroughly investigated, but he should be anyway, because anytime there is a case, you have to put in the narrative. When he goes to trial, some prosecutor has to say, he flew in from Chicago.
Right.
He landed here. He got the gun X.
Okay.
took that gun and then I mean, that I believe is a standard.
Well, one of his conspirators have fled, knowing that this was going to take months, and they've already fled D.C.
It's very possible.
I think it's likely.
Yeah, I mean,
hence conspiracy, hence John Wilkes Booth, hence D.C. with the killing of Lincoln. I mean, at some point, you got to get off your fat ass, not you, Patel and Bongino, and do some gumshoe, work here. Whether.
Yeah. Well, he crossed state lines. He didn't have the gun, but it might. There's because wait a minute. You know what? They're embassy workers. This is an FBI case.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're talking about a federal,
That's why I mentioned why I mentioned the FBI building. It's clearly a federal case. I don't want to pile on Bongino and Patel because Barnes did a pretty harsh job on
he
him
was
yesterday.
clear on it. He was clear.
I think Barnes is pretty clear, and I agree with him. I've been saying it far earlier, and people are telling me to have patience. Now the people who told me to have patience have run out of patience. So I was just ahead of the patience curve. But the story's the same. The fact that they come out saying Epstein obviously killed himself, you can't see the files.
That's what bothered me. Actually, the Crooks thing, I think, is what
the Crooks thing is more bothersome.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what? Especially with Bongino. You're going to tell me Mr. Secret Service, former Secret Service, who laid into them before he got his new job.
He
laid into them every which way. He was somebody that you and I turned to go, oh, Bongino said blah, 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 blah.
Absolutely. Every morning. Every morning.
And now
all the same thing with Kash Patel. I mean, he slayed these people in his book. He destroyed these people in his book. Well, that means you were just trying to sell books, I guess, and you're a fraud in that regard. I mean, you can't have it both ways, bro. I mean, like Barnes said, and I said here earlier, the Biden administration hit the ground running. When they took the oath of office, they arrested people 5 minutes later. This is now becoming up to 6 months and a couple of weeks into June with no major arrest of any major case and no indictments and no nothing. It's enough already. It really is getting sickening.
Well, again, I'm going to harp on the Crooks case because if you're going to let that go and say that, then now I'm going to blame somebody else other than those two.
Right.
Donald Trump. If you don't give a shit about the person who tried to kill you,
then we can't care about it.
Then what are we doing here? I mean,
I don't know, because that's where it's going, Eric. I mean, the fact, I understand if politically you don't want to look back, that's fine politically, but as a nation and a nation of laws, we have to resolve these situations. This chick Crockett said when she takes over the oversight committee, when and if they take back the House, the first thing she's doing is going after Trump's family. She's actually saying it and out loud, and we're back in power, and we still can't get the balls to go after them in terms of retribution and justice. It really is sickening.
And
here's the Crockett thing Eric was talking
about. Actually.
I'm curious, if the Democrats take over after the midterms next year, the House and or Senate, do you think they're going to push for investigations into Trump's family and the whole crypto acquisitions that he has getting?
Here we go. The wind up. Bobblehead.
Whoa.
Well, Alex, I'm glad you asked.
There we go.
Listen, so long as we end up taking the House, which I fully anticipate that we will do, and we are going to work hard to obviously help our Senate colleagues as well, then as someone who serves on the Oversight Committee and hopes to lead the Oversight Committee, I can guarantee you that we will do what we are supposed to do as constitutionally sworn members of the House, which means that we will conduct oversight. That means that we will investigate. We will look at whether or not this president himself has violated the emoluments clause as it relates to, say, such things as getting a $400 million plane from the Qataris. We also will make sure that we're looking into all these business deals that they have going on. I mean, think about it this way, Alex, they were going after Hunter because he sat on a board. Think about how much money they are raking in, whether we're talking about the next golf resort that they're setting up in Qatar.
Anyway, you get
the point of the matter is, by the way, I don't think she's the ranking member of that committee. I think Garcia is the ranking member. So I don't think unless she's somehow going to get a co-chair of the oversight committee.
She's becoming very quickly like the spirit of the Democratic Party. AOC is kind of probably on the side saying, hey, wait a minute, somebody's stealing my thunder here. But no,
Yeah.
Crockett's really been throwing herself out there.
Well, if Luna would focus on re-election of the Republican candidates more than she's focusing on what she's doing now. I mean, I appreciate the hearings, but keeping the House is the number one priority of this party, this president, and this administration. And apparently it's way down on their list. But to me, it's the number one priority. Like I said, you got to deal with this every day. You got to tell us in some committee or some job where these candidates are, where to send money, how to back them, how to get populist candidates. There's nothing. It's just a vacuum of information, and there's no information. I don't even know who's running. And yet we're, 16 months away from the midterms.
I'm going to add one more thing in there because I am concerned about the midterms, obviously. But how about this? This will help you guys get elected too. Pass some legislation, please.
Oh, yeah.
How about you write some new laws? How about then, as you write the laws, you say, look at how we're pushing Trump's agenda. Trump, who you elected. Yeah. Now, why don't you reelect me? And then why don't you get me some support? That might just work. So if they do their damn job, I would argue that
they're not going to do it, Eric. They're not going to pass any legislation. They're going to wait this out until they lose control of the House. It's quite obviously this is the rhinos in both the House and the Senate. They're going to try to run out the clock. But somehow we have to overcome that. We can't make them vote, and we can't make them vote our way. And neither can Trump, apparently, because he has not 1 ounce of LBJ in him. He believes everybody is there to make a deal, and to kill them politically is against your better judgment, because then you can't make a deal with them if they're dead. LBJ would kill you.
My worry is this, the theory I have about race baiters and a lot of other race hustlers. A lot of people have this theory. It's nothing new. But if they are ever to admit that things are getting better on the racial front, then they have nothing, for them. They're no purpose, right? I think that these scumbags in Congress want everything to fail because they can keep running on it.
Yeah.
They've been running on the same BS every time, the border, whatever else. So if these issues are actually fixed, the legislation actually goes in and we're moving forward, are all these scumbag rhinos going to suddenly say, oh shit, well, we don't have anything to run on. And also we're going to lose campaign donations who are paying us off to back in. And it's very, very, very frustrating because the incentives seem to be completely upside down, in my opinion. And I don't know.
I think Luna extended the JFK committee for 6 months, by the way, at the end of that thing. Or she tweeted the next day. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not. She probably did. It must be going well for her.
What's that?
Must be going well for her.
It must be going well for her for donations.
Well, by the way, that falls right into my theory, though.
Yeah,
she could go all crazy on JFK. It doesn't mean shit for anything now. In reality, and she could get all the kudos of all this work that she's doing, but not actually moving the needle. Meanwhile, she's voting to support a Democrat with a pregnancy not have to be on the floor voting, and other things like that. But no, she's taking care of the JFK thing. I don't know.
Their priorities are bizarre. I mean, the lack of indictments by Pam Bondi and the lack of arrest by Patel and Bongino, nobody could figure this out. I mean, the lack of information on the Epstein file is breathtaking. You've had the piles of stuff on the desk, according to Bondi, the empty folders that Bondi provided, now the statements that Epstein committed suicide on the part of Bongino. People are stunned, Eric. They really are stunned.
Yeah, the crooks is what takes me over the top.
Yeah,
I mean the whole Epstein.
Because you're right. Because Ruth is going to have a trial. So the reality of it is, you really can't do too much with the Ruth storyline at this point. But the crooks thing, he's dead and buried. And I don't mean buried; he's actually cremated. But nevertheless, he was cremated within 5 minutes of his head getting destroyed.
Right, and there's just so much wrong with that. And that was that one, a bullet actually hit the president. I mean,
is the Secret Service fighting among themselves, Eric, as you pointed out with this video?
How did you know I had that up in the background?
Because I knew where this was going, my friend. Apparently, these two female Secret Service agents are not happy with each other, according to Susan Crabtree, who is the Vince Palomara of the modern day Secret Service.
Yeah, she is. Good
she is.
Call.
Yeah, she's the Vince Palomara of Secret Service media coverage, and they have not responded to her multiple requests as to what the F is going on in this video.
Well, listen to this. This is
okay,
like right beforehand.
What is it? Ass whooping? Is it girl ass whooping?
Yeah, I mean, let's hear that again. This is literally the professional organization.
Was that Crockett?
Yeah, I was wondering. Yeah.
Yeah. What is going on with this DEI ghettoization of the entire government? I mean, this is so crazy. Just fire them. What is this insane reluctance to indict, fire, jail, have a grand jury about anything?
Well, I mean, think about it. It's so embarrassing. Think of like the movie In the Line of Fire, which came up with Palomaro, right? Never mind the one line in that, but the overall representation of it.
Yes.
That was the vision and the thought of the Secret Service of, these guys, the ones who dove for Reagan and stuff.
Yeah.
And this is what we have now. And it's like, is this a gang unit?
It's a gang unit. And not only that, remember we had, when Biden was in LA, this guy was robbed down in Orange County, and he was in a shootout with the robbers who stole his bag. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah, and and that's not the only time they fought either. There was like other fights and then things that went down.
Don't forget the ones in Colombia when they were on the Obama mission. They all got sent back to the United States.
That's Obama's people.
Yes,
these agents are Obama's too.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if they went with him. How long have they been there? Have they been on his detail for a long time?
Absolutely. He's got a detail right now.
I know. I'm just saying, they carry over from his presidency all the way to anyway, I'm just.
Yeah. Wow. It's interesting. It's a good question. Who are these people?
It is an embarrassment. Now, speaking of embarrassments in our field,
what do we have?
Well, you sent me this. She's relatively minor from what I looked up.
What?
We've got podcasters being convicted for meddling in cases.
Yeah, I like this because you and I and everyone else in the country have been, and Tim explains this, and other people explain this. True crime is the bread and butter of Netflix, and there are these women who have become these true crime civilian case solvers and end up with documentaries on Netflix. Here's one of them. So they get so crazy, these women, and there's guys too. It's not just women. There's guys also. I don't know if she's dating somebody from the Lakers or something. They start meddling in the cases where they're emailing people, calling them out, accusing people of covering up, all to feed their podcast. Well, this woman apparently went so far accusing law enforcement officials of covering up this story that they finally charged her with interfering with the case, and it was convicted as one of the true crime podcasters for interfering and meddling in a criminal investigation. And it's about time.
The interesting thing about this, though, is I did look up because they're exaggerating, but when they say popular female podcaster,
I'm sure.
I checked her YouTube channel. I think she had a few hundred subs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
she may have a Netflix deal, though.
Well, no, this is the irony.
Yeah.
This is probably the best thing that could happen to her.
Of course.
Because now she's on the map. I bet you her numbers go up. Now, there's another case of this with Aiden Carney. Somebody in the chat already put it here, Turtle Boy. And I don't know. He's actually a blogger. So a blogger is kind of pre-podcaster. I mean, he does do YouTube and stuff like that too, but he's more known for blogging. But he's been very, very, very involved in the Karen Reed case, all the way to the point where he was locked up for for some. But it was on other charges,
right?
So he's like he's battling.
I think she's a representation of a type that's why they went after her, because there's so many. She's obviously not the biggest, but there's so many of these true crime podcasters who have meddled and are meddling. They show up at the site, they show up at the crime scene, they steal evidence. I mean, this has been an ongoing phenomenon for about 5 years, maybe longer. And I think the authorities are trying to pick out someone to make an example of, Eric.
Hell, I had a New Mexico prosecutor that
wanted to make an example of you.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a weird situation, though, because obviously there are people who are trying to garner fame off of this. You know, the bigger the splash is, if you can inject yourself into the story, you can become huge.
Hey, tell me about it. I was injected into this story on 2020, being the woman who interviewed the killer on the LAPD.
Oh, well, yeah. Oh God, I forget her name, but yeah. The maniac.
Stephanie Lazarus.
Yes.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying I was injected into that story as well. I mean, I've been injected into other stories as a journalist. It's not the first time. These two massive rehab owners were suing each other in Malibu over their business, and I was a witness for both of them. I was subpoenaed for both sides because I had written about it. So the same thing with the Lazarus case. I had written about it, and I was the last one to interview Stephanie Lazarus. But yeah, I mean, going back all in American history, journalists have been dragged into cases.
Exactly. And that's what I think we're seeing too. So it's the first half is, like I said, people who are trying to ingratiate themselves and become famous based on injecting themselves in the case.
Yeah.
But then there are legitimately people who are podcasters or whatever, who are trying to break news as the new media, because we're seeing a shift of the media going online and in different formats. And there are some very legitimate people out there that are helping move the ball. The whole Johnny Depp case was famously helped by sites like the Umbrella Guy. Johnny Depp, remember, he got fined or whatever in England. He lost in England.
Right, that's
Amber Heard in all the papers. And his lawyer took another route and started to shift information and send in information to podcasters. And that built the groundswell that got him into winning the one of the famous cases.
I don't know if this is funny, but Mickey Rourke got off a LAX flight last night. He was pushing a baggage thing of his own bags, and the TMZ guys were all over him. Hey, Mickey, what's going on? That kind of thing. And he wasn't fighting with them. He was like laughing with them. He wasn't like Baldwin. Mickey Rourke was like, hey, what's going on, man? And they're surrounding him, and he gets out in the street, and one of the paparazzi gets hit by a bus. In the middle of this whole paparazzi swarm of them TMZing him, and he gets run over by one of those shuttle buses.
Well, there's a difference between Mickey Rourke and Alec Baldwin too, though.
I don't know.
Alec Baldwin. No, I'm just saying.
In terms
Alec
of
Baldwin.
Tone, yeah.
Well, not only I'm saying Alec Baldwin can mouth off to the people. Mickey Rourke can kick their ass. He's an actual boxer.
They love Mickey Rourke because he's not a scumbag to them. Like Baldwin goes to war with them. But Mickey Rourke is super friendly. They were giving him a friendship bracelet. These guys love Mickey Rourke out here, the paparazzi. But in that gaggle, one of them got hit by the bus, which I thought was ironic.
Yeah, that's horrible. All right, you know what? Circling all the way back to the opening, somebody sent me this. One of our mods, SG. Bill Maher's podcast studio shuts down. So you know how he has
a physical studio, or what does that mean?
Okay, this is what I think is going on. He had Club Random, the show, and I think he was building out Club Random Studios to sponsor other shows. And I don't know, he might have been dealing with the Haktua girl. I don't know, but if you listen to his show, like he says, get with such and such and get
ads. I heard
that. It's his own ad company.
Right.
He's got some things going on.
That's the longest ad read in the world, Eric.
Oh, dude, there's 8 ad reads in that freaking show.
He reads like a 2-minute ad read a bunch of times for this podcast company.
Yeah, it was crazy. But anyway,
is that his company, Eric?
Yeah, Club Random Studios. It was a podcast company built around the show.
Okay.
But apparently it has ceased operations. This is very misleading because his show is still going fine. Yeah. Obviously, Club Random show's just fine, but I think he was building it out like a lot of people do, where they've got a popular show and they build a network of shows around them.
Right.
And I'm sure that just went under.
Well, to his credit, he's had on just recently Charlie Kirk,
yes,
Kid Rock, Matt Gaetz, Tim Pool, some other conservative.
Scott Jennings.
I don't know. I didn't see that.
No, no, Scott Jennings was on Real Time.
Yeah, I didn't see that one. But I'm just saying he has brought on every major, and he was on Joe Rogan himself.
He hasn't been on there for a while, though. Did he go on again recently?
No, it wasn't recent, but I want to say over a year ago. But I'm saying he has spoken to all these people in one shape.
In Real Time, he does have at least rhinos.
He had Douglas Murray on a couple of weeks ago on Real Time.
He's a mixed bag. That's like every other week he does something decent, and then the next week he's a pain in the ass.
Well, he's making it seem like the left hates his guts to Tim Pool, like he's with Tim Pool. I mean, it's really a weird dance where he just says they hate me because of this, that, and the other. And I'm going like, who hates you? The people, HBO hates you, the most far left network on the dial? I'm going
the leftists hate him. No, they do. The pure lefties like Jezebel and all that hate his guts. Yeah, absolutely. But whatever. You know, he I can't think of a good example on the right, but there are some people who are hated by their side.
Why don't you just say Ben Shapiro then?
Oh, okay, that's a mixed.
No, I'm just picking one out.
No, that's a good one. Yeah.
Okay, I just pulled that out. I don't know.
Speaking of which, do I gotta have it pulled up here? But Jordan Peterson is going through some flack.
What did he do now? This poor guy can't they leave him alone?
He had this. Okay, he had this appearance on a show. The channel's called Jubilee, and they bring people on. It's interesting channel. They bring people on, and what they essentially do is they have different shows. So it'd be like Charlie Kirk deals with 20 liberals, and so one at a time they go up and they argue with them.
That's a show.
They get voted off. Yeah, it's
and they get voted off the island if they lose.
They don't get voted off the island. What happens is you've got all the people going around, and they're having a debate on a clock. Yeah. And then the people who are in the circle who also could participate start raising flags if they're saying that they don't like the person who's going against.
Okay,
for example,
that's interesting.
And then once enough flags go up, then they're booted, and somebody else runs up to take a turn.
Okay, all right.
It's kind of a game show type of situation,
right?
But he was
doing game show, debate show.
It kind of is.
It's like the voice of debate shows.
Anyway, he went on there and he's under fire for not admitting that he's a Christian or not claiming he's a Christian, because the theme of the show was 20 atheists debate a Christian, or one Christian versus 20 atheists.
Boy, that's annoying. By the way, did you hear Tim Pool's description of his own religion?
Well, he didn't really have one. That was kind of all over the map. But,
that was all over the map, bro. He started out as a Catholic school kid, went to atheism, then he went to something else, and now it looks like he's using the universe as a higher power.
Right. Okay. Here it is. This gives you an idea. This is
right.
one of the people who came up to challenge him, and this is what's going on.
Wow, that was interesting.
Yeah, it was. And anyway, so Jordan's getting trashed from the left and the right for that.
Let me tell you something. I have said this about Jordan Peterson since day one. He has a problem with a higher power, with God. And if you ask him about God in any interview, he does this dance. This kid asked him about Christianity, but I have seen many interviews where people have asked him about his belief in God, and he will go into a circuitous escape route to not answer that question. This kid just stuck it to him and said, are you Christian or are you not? And he got really angry because it's kind of in the same world. But I don't know what his problem is with these two areas. And, you know, I mean, this is a guy who may or may not be a former addict. By his own admission, he was addicted to drugs. And I don't know how he has gotten out of that addiction. He refuses to embrace the traditional methods of addiction treatment. Let me just put it that way. And when you ask him about God or Christianity now, apparently he goes berserk.
Well, it's a confusing situation because Jordan Peterson got his fame talking about the Bible.
Right.
And
I know.
talking about,
I know.
you know, what the lessons and the theories and whatever the faith is. And on that, you know, dispute between the two of them, the kid was just being a shit. Like, honestly.
That's okay. So what? So what?
Whatever. He's a very punchable kid. But anyway, essentially, who gives a shit? People are saying, how dare you not say you're a Christian or not? And I'm kind of going,
I don't know.
That's sort of not the point.
I don't know the point.
You can argue something.
If the point of the show is a Christian versus atheist, the kid's saying, why are you here? I thought I was debating a Christian then.
It doesn't matter. Why don't you address the claim? I guess that's what bothers me.
I don't understand the rules of the game here. All I'm saying is, in the past few years, when he has been asked about his beliefs, he gets really squirrely.
And he does. Well, I mean, if you
and I don't know why. I don't know why he does.
I don't know. If you ever want to watch the most painful or listen to the most painful podcast in the world, there is a 2-hour podcast between him and Sam Harris discussing what is the truth.
I've seen it. Yeah.
It is excruciating.
That's excruciating. But I'm just talking about him ducking this question. This is not the first time.
Well, he's flat out said, I'm not a Christian. He just did it on
I'm not talking about the Christianity, I'm talking about the God part.
Well, I think he's struggling with it. I don't think he knows.
I think so too.
I think
he could say I'm struggling with it. I mean,
by the way, ironically, a lot like Tim Pool, because he was very unclear himself.
Well, I don't think Tim Pool is a drug addict, as
no,
Peterson admits he is. He really is a straight edge almost.
Okay,
right?
Well,
he didn't even want to drink with Bill Maher.
No. Bill Maher said, "I understand now," and he goes, "Oh, well, do you have any tequila?" No, Tim Pool wanted to drink because it was Bill Maher.
He took some sips with him. Yeah. But I mean, he was hinting at what's his face, who didn't want to come on the show from MTV. Steve-O, who didn't want to come on and have him do drugs in his face.
Which I understand.
I understand, but Bill Maher has made a mockery of Steve-O since that's happened. He didn't mention him last night, but that's who he's referring to.
Yeah, I mean, I can see both sides, and I'm not trying to bust Tim's balls, except Tim covered the Jordan Peterson video today and was kind of.
What did he say?
Well, he was criticizing Jordan Peterson for not admitting he was a Christian or not. I'm like,
I agree. I'm agreeing with Tim Pool on this one.
Okay, well,
I'm agreeing with Tim Pool. I mean, there's something wrong with his situation. He's crying all the time. We all talk about it among my friends in recovery. He's weeping all the time. The only people who weep that quickly are people who are still using. And he weeps at the drop of a hat. And that's a sign of active using of drugs and addiction. Because normally you should be able to keep your emotions in check. And I don't mean that this guy's a softie or he's a crybaby or anything else. He has wrestled with drugs by his own admission for the past 5 or 10 years, going way back. I mean, he had
that weird thing where he was in Russia and
they had to do a detox. They did a rapid detox on him. He almost died in Moscow. I mean, this storyline has been going on for a while.
Yeah, no. Well, okay. Speaking of drugs, though.
Yeah.
Have you seen this one?
Ooh, I have not seen this one.
All right. Well, I obviously can't do it, but a meth crazed Florida man is bitten by an alligator.
Okay.
But still, after being bitten by an alligator,
didn't stop
he charges at cops with a garden shears until he's finally shot dead.
Oh, I mean, this is suicide by gator, or
we can't say that word though. We were doing so well.
Yeah, I mean, you start pulling up stuff like this. There's no other way to go. But I mean, that's the guy, Eric.
This is the guy. Apparently, he was missing from his convenience store job,
and that job was the best job he ever had.
And that was the ultimate response.
Good circle there of bullet fire. Look at that tight circle, Eric. What is this inside there? What is that?
This is the cop car.
Oh, I see. Right. Wait, he was in the cop car?
Well, that's his shears. So let me see.
Was he in there, or
I think they might have shot him through the windshield
of their own cop car?
Maybe.
Oh my God. Okay, so he's bitten by the gator. He's
and
put
rampaging with garden shears at them.
Right, but he somehow gets into their car. It looks like he was attempted to steal their car.
Apparently, I mean,
wow.
it is a.
All I could say is don't do meth, kids. That's like my number one thing. You'll end up with garden shears or a machete with police coming after you.
Well, what about bath salts?
Okay, you want to use them? Go ahead. No, I mean bath salts.
Well, no, first off, what are they? Because excuse the language. There was a couple of cases like the person eating somebody's face off.
Yeah, you can start to get into cannibalism from bath salts. I mean, but bath salts are literally not as dangerous as meth abuse, because meth abuse, you can navigate it for a long time and then just go crazy. Meth abuse, you could literally last for a number of years if you have some money. Meth is so cheap and addictive. Bath salts is kind of a one-off psychotropic high.
Can you tell me what it is? Because that's where I'm going. So I keep hearing bath salts. What is bath salts?
Well, let's look up the actual chemistry of bath salts. Let's ask Mr. Grok. Maybe Grok knows. Hold on. No, the actual chemical makeup of bath salt. Let's see. Voice mode. Let's see here. Connecting. What comprises bath salts?
And we're not talking about the ones you put in the tub.
Salts, the kind you toss in your tub, are usually made of mineral salts, like Epsom salt, which is magnesium sulfate, and sea salt or Himalayan pink salt.
No, I think those are okay. Epsom salt and Himalayan salt, I think those are fine.
Hold on, I got to ask her again, because obviously she's got a problem. Let's see here. Okay. What about drug type bath salts? She's not answering.
Well, you're talking to Siri, which is a disaster.
I'm talking to Grok.
Oh, Grok?
Yeah. That was the Grok lady.
There's a Grok lady? I didn't know there's a Grok
yeah.
lady.
Oh, she's crazy. Dude, what's her name turned me on to it? Musk. He was playing around with it on Rogan. It just went absolutely crazy.
Okay.
Let's see here. What kind of bath salts are people taking and abusing as a drug? Oh.
The bath salts abused as drugs aren't the spa kind. They're synthetic cathevinones, man-made stimulants mimicking the effects of cocaine, meth, or MDMA.
How do I get some?
I'm assuming you're asking about synthetic cathevinones, commonly known as bath salts, since we were just talking about their abuse as drugs. These substances, like MDPV or mephedrone, are illegal in many places, including the U.S., where they've been classified as Schedule I controlled substances since 2013 due to their high potential for harm and abuse. They're linked to dangerous effects like severe agitation, heart problems, and even psychosis. So I can't recommend trying to get them.
But what if I really wanted to get them?
I'm curious, but I gotta be straight. Those synthetic cathevinones, the bath salts people abuse, are seriously risky and illegal in most places, like the U.S., where they're Schedule I drugs. Trying to get them usually means dealing with shady sources.
Okay. What countries are they legal in so I can go to that country and do bath salts?
I'm not here to help you break laws or put yourself at risk. Synthetic cathevinones or bath salts are dangerous, and I'd rather steer you away from them.
All right, we got to stop. You're going to demonetize this video for sure.
Hold on. Okay. Well, we got the answer to that, Hunley. I hope
public service announcement.
I hope you're happy.
Bath salts are bad. We are not encouraging anyone to partake of any kind of illicit substance of any kind.
I'm good. Don't worry. Just here to help with whatever you're curious about next.
Geez, stop her.
What's on your mind?
It's hysterical. We were using it the other night, and she wouldn't shut up the whole night. There was nothing. She's going, I'm still awake. Stop talking about me behind my back. No, it became like Cassandra, the German television show. By the way, there's a new show we're watching. I think it's on Max. It's called Poly Family, which I highly recommend. It's brand new. It's a polyamorous family in Lebanon, Oregon, that lives together in a quad. And I mean a quad meaning there's 4 of them with multiple children. And there's 2 couples that are in a relationship. And the men, let me see if I can explain this. The men alternate sleeping with the other woman every single night. And they've given birth to multiple children. And it's one of these new fascinating reality shows that I get addicted to. It's called Poly Family. And I think a lot of people might like it.
For those who like 90 Day Bride or whatever.
Oh, no. This is far more sophisticated than that. This is not at that level. This is reality show at the top level.
Top level. Yeah.
There is a top level, Eric, and there's a bottom level. I'm sorry.
Well, it's a TLC show, it looked like. So
it's TLC-ish, but really well done.
I see.
Yeah, very well done. Not as good as Balin Out Loud, the Tourette show. That's the most riveting show on the air. Or Love on the Spectrum, which now has another version in Australia, which is not as good as the American version.
I'll stick with Bosch for now.
You just keep watching reruns, Hunley. They'll catch up to you. But the reality of it is,
the new ones. Finally, I got onto this season.
The Valley, which replaced Vanderpump Rules, is still rolling. So at least you got that to live for.
You know what? I saw one show that it's on Paramount Plus. I guess it's coming out with Jeffrey Dean Morgan as the host. Might be interesting. It's called Destination X.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Well, I guess they fly people to a place with no idea where they are, and the whole point is they have to figure out where the hell they are.
I like that. I like that.
Like, that could be interesting.
My movie recommendation of the week is Fountain of Youth, directed by Guy Ritchie, Natalie Portman. Krasinski is the male lead. I think John Krasinski, I think the guy's name is. British crime, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Big budget movie. It's on Apple TV. Huge budget. I don't know how he got this. I mean, it looks like $200 million. But recommended. I'd recommend it if people are looking for a real movie.
All right, so you enjoyed it? Because it got kind of
it's not the greatest. I mean, it's like a Raiders of the Lost Ark, but it's definitely watchable. Definitely watchable.
All right.
Yeah,
Speaking
it's
of
not the greatest
Krasinski,
movie.
He did Jack Ryan on Amazon.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was pretty good.
Right. Yeah.
And obviously The Office, but anyway, whatever. That was way back in the day.
Yeah.
Speaking of people who aren't having the best time of it, poor Mary Lou Retton.
Yeah, I saw that today. Apparently she's got some sort of brain cancer or some sort of cancer. And
now she had a DUI.
A DUI, but if you go down,
I didn't see the cancer. That's new. She had a pneumonia that almost killed her a couple of years ago.
Hold on, look around in there somewhere because I think if I remember correctly, shocking. A year after controversy surrounding charity donation ways of threatening her pneumonia, she had some illness that she raised
right.
money
She had
for.
a pneumonia that almost killed her, and they raised apparently $500,000 in charity. But then there was questions.
Is that
about
her?
How she spent them? Yeah, that was her in 2023.
Wow.
But I think she recovered from the pneumonia.
Oh, okay. All right.
But now she's got a DUI.
Look how small she is.
Well, she's 4'9". So, David would be tall around her.
David would tower. David could dunk over her.
That's right. David could play basketball and run circles.
You know what? I love the story of the guy who was arrested in New York for running that Chinese police station, Eric. They're looking to get him 3 years in jail, rightfully so, for having a secret Chinese Communist Party. And it wasn't the only city. The one in New York was the one that tipped the hand of federal authorities. Apparently, the Chinese Communist Party, and we covered this on the show before, set up police stations in numerous cities around the world, including Paris, including New York, including LA, Chicago, Canada, where they would deal with looking for people who had fled or committed some crimes or their families had committed crimes, and they were trying to threaten them. And they literally set up police stations and had their own police in the United States. So anyway, this guy is the first guy to go down, the police chief of this police station in Chinatown in New York. He's looking at 3 years behind bars for this crime.
Well, I'm glad to hear it, because when we were covering it before, we thought it was being allowed. And it appears that no, it was not being allowed.
Right. It was not being allowed. It was secret. It was secret. They're now saying they didn't know about it. Somebody whistle blew. One of the victims must have whistle blown it and tipped the feds off to this thing because it was secret.
Right. So that's encouraging, because when we were reporting it, we thought that it was being, allowed or supported, or, people are looking the other way. And that was scary.
Yeah.
This sounds like, okay, you have.
Well, this is creepy anyway, Eric, right?
For sure.
But secret police stations by foreign communist nations in your cities is creepy enough.
Well, I agree. And that's why I'm glad that they're prosecuting them, though. So it's like,
no,
it's not something that we're accepting. Like in Canada, I think they actually accept some of that type of stuff.
You know what? You might be right. In certain countries, it might be a wink, wink, nod, nod. But I mean, Trump's suspending all those foreign visas. I mean, the Chinese are going to be hit the hardest, right, Eric? Don't they have like something like 300,000 students spread across the country? I mean, a huge amount of, and they're all by law. If I remember the law, which is only a couple of years old, they must every month report to the embassy in that city with what they've learned. So they're all spies by legal definition. They are. I mean, there's no way around it.
The professors are too.
Professors are too, if they're Chinese nationalists.
No, there's been countless.
Yeah, well, that's a separate issue.
Professors.
That's a separate issue.
Well, no, but that's even worse. Half of the time, they're probably coordinating with the professors who are already there. How to spy, what to do, what to gather.
As Barnes pointed out yesterday, which I've known for a long time, 1979 is when Jimmy Carter kicked out every Iranian student in the country because of the Iranian hostage crisis, and that was thousands and thousands and thousands of Iranian students in every single college in the country. So if any court in the land questions now,
I'm sure that the media is they're reporting that right now.
They're not reporting it at all. But what I'm saying is, when Trump's Solicitor General goes into court, all he has to do is pull out the news clippings from the New York Times from 1979 and say, is there a problem any longer with this case, Your Honor? I mean, this is Jimmy Carter in 1979. There's obviously a precedent for this. We're going to leave right now. We hope you have a good day and enjoy your lunch because this case is over.
Well, that's why I'm saying I find it, of course, our truthful media, and while they're trashing Trump for his draconian approach of removing all the visas, is obviously looking to the great Jimmy Carter and how he did that in the past.
Not one word of it. And the only reason I know it is because I remember living through it, and Barnes knows it because he's Barnes. But the fact of the matter is, they're just doing what Jimmy Carter did.
And others have. There have been other.
Well, I don't know about the others, but I do remember Carter doing this to it, and they were out within days. Eric, there was no due fucking process, bro. They were on a plane out of here. And the irony was, a lot of them had been supporters of the Shah and were here because they didn't want to go back to the Khomeini place.
Oh yeah.
So it wasn't as if they were politically aligned with Khomeini. They were not.
No.
They just were Iranian, and Carter said, you got to go.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Wow.
I mean, speaking of which, okay, from the department of, you can't make this shit up.
That's a big department now.
It's a huge department, but it gives us a lot of stories. This is one of my favorites.
What do you got?
Star Harvard business professor, this is so great, is stripped of her tenure and fired for manipulating data in studies on dishonesty.
Oh, so my God, you can't. That's great. That's just great,
I'm sorry. This is just frameable. So she came up with these 4 studies on dishonesty, being dishonest with the data.
Wow. Well, as I said, women are much more, just 8 times as more dishonest than men, according to a Gallup poll from a number of years ago and some other studies. So I'm not surprised that she's lying about the study about lying. That's kind of funny, Eric.
It is. It's
You can't make this up.
No, as I said,
She looks like a liar.
This is a prime.
I wouldn't believe anything this woman told me.
No, and I yes, she absolutely, as John Neeson said, is an expert in the field.
Let me tell you who's another expert. Is Karen Bass, who yesterday these kids went berserk around LA, vandalizing everything in sight. They tagged restaurants, they tagged stores, they broke in and did like with the mass looting with 50 to 60, 75 kids. And she said this is intolerable. Intolerable to her means no arrest or anything. And go ahead. I don't know what you have. Maybe you got some video of this.
I do.
Oh, that's interesting.
Or I believe this is video about it.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Play this. This is an average night.
Oh wait, I can't play it because of that.
Okay. Can you turn the sound off, or
I'll turn it off. And yeah, okay. It's just showing sirens and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk over.
No, so I'm saying they went crazy after this. This is downtown LA. This is them tagging the metro and everything, the different trains, tagging all the signs. They again broke into 7-Eleven, stole all this shit, and no arrests are made. The police show up. This is the Joker face here with the her face was cut by a knife into a Joker smile when she was a child. She said this is intolerable. Again,
we cannot do this. We cannot do this in our city. And
look at the guy who pops up, that photo bomber.
We have to be very aggressive about it because we will never send a signal that maybe this is acceptable behavior. It is unacceptable under any and all circumstances. And those people that perpetrated this have to be held accountable to the full extent of the law.
Oh. Okay, thank you for stopping by. No one will be arrested ever for this, and no one has been arrested for any of them. It's just so visual. Once it hits local news, she comes out like a puppet and says something. If it doesn't make local news, she's not able to come out and say anything. This is her MO, and she is the mayor of the largest city in the country.
And likely to be reelected.
Likely to be reelected because of the sheer incompetence, and also that blacks vote in a block. Although they're only 8% of the electorate here in LA.
That reminds me of what Tim Pool was talking about Chicago and how that guy got in.
That was great.
Loyola.
The Loyola College area vote. Yeah, that was very interesting.
And I never knew that breakdown of how close.
Yeah, he knows it district by district. I mean, there's similarities to that here in LA, which I don't have to go into, but it's a similar story here.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I brought up the Sharon Osbourne situation with Ozempic.
Okay.
Apparently, this is a trend now.
Are you just getting hip to this? It's so common out here, Eric.
Well, no, I'm saying it's called skinny talk.
Yeah.
And it's the new heroin chic.
Yep.
It's nauseating.
Well, it becomes a body dysmorphic issue where they're
yes.
In other words, they have dreamed about being skinny their whole lives. And once you're able to control it with a drug, they just keep going. And they will not stop until they're skin and bones now. It's astounding how far they're willing to go, because this is their image of their perfect weight and size. So they're going not to your visualization, but what their crazy body dysmorphic visualization is of their perfect shape and weight.
I know, but it's
Twiggy time.
Well, this is even worse. I mean, yes on that, but there are anorexic channels and people have perished because of this. So I mean, this is an actual mental disorder in my
opinion.
And to celebrate it or to support it or encourage it is it's beyond
the drug is in their hands. Keep in mind, they're controlling their own weight loss with this drug that could go all the way to 0 if you keep taking it. They've created this monster, so they're not happy to just get to a normal weight, because they go, all right, let me see what I'll look another 20 pounds lighter. Ooh, look at this. it's almost like an experimental drug for them.
I don't know.
Well, there's also Ozempic teeth. I don't know if you've heard about that now.
Is that like meth mouth?
Yes. Yes. It's called Ozempic teeth.
Great. I'm not looking that up. I don't even want to see it.
You don't want to see it.
I've seen Hunter Biden. Okay.
Yeah. Well, his is from meth mouth. Yeah.
Well, well, the same thing. I've seen that, and that's disgusting. Looking at Sharon Osbourne, that was disturbing. I mean,
yeah,
this is horrible.
They've created a monster with this Ozempic.
And,
but if it's regulated and handled properly, it could be an answer to obesity if handled properly, which is a separate area of science.
Yeah, but again, with like extreme, you know, like I think that if somebody weighs 700 pounds, for example,
oh, definitely pull a fire alarm.
Okay, yeah, this is the kind of thing that could maybe restore them. But when somebody's anything under that, I mean, even 300 pounds or under, I think you're getting into a problem.
Yeah. Well, you're dealing with food addiction, so it doesn't deal with the underlying cause of the addiction.
No, it doesn't.
Again, it's just like, you know, going and taking ibogaine or, you know, going to Central America and detoxing from heroin through, you know, one of these ritualistic things doesn't treat the underlying addiction.
That's true. That's true. Well, let me see. We've got some super chats in here, and this is on point. Steve from London. I'm a psychiatrist. The human brain still develops till age 25. We could close about 25% of our wards if we stop adolescents smoking.
Oh, he's absolutely right about that. And that's the problem. And they don't give a shit. NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, has been victorious. They have, you want to talk about APAC, talk about NORML, how they've spread money around to increase the amount of visits to the emergency wards in Colorado, which Berenson talked about in his book, Teach Your Children, about his wife who runs the emergency ward, I think in New York. She ran one of them. And the increase in people, a lot from edibles, but the amount of kids going into the emergency wards has gone through the roof. And again, you think it's Cheech and Chong. It's not. It's not your father. It's not Cheech and Chong's cannabis anymore, my friends.
That's true. That's true, from what I understand.
Thanks, Steve. Okay. Thank you.
This is a side note. Well, let me get this super chat because it's on point too. I've lost many friends. Pot as a gateway to other experimental drug use.
No, Mike's right. And Mike's absolutely right. And I'm talking to Dr. Drew about it the other day. Number one drug to check into rehab is marijuana now. And it used to be years ago when I was working in the rehab business, it was like number 4 on the list, 5. You rarely got someone checking in because of weed. Now, Drew told me the other day it's number 1 on the list.
Now, is that because it's essentially super refined and not it's not skunk weed of years past?
Right. It's both, but it's accessibility, it's legality, it's cost, and it's also strength.
Okay.
Yeah, it's multiple reasons, but nevertheless, it's the number 1 drug to check into rehab on now.
Okay, there's something else that's been kind of coming up in DMs to me on X and whatever about concerns of people using, and maybe you could talk to it. It's whippets.
Okay. Well, whippets is, if that's still a concern now, I mean, I did whippets when I was 13 years old. You know, it's something that you can get out of, you can buy the canisters, or you can get it out of a whipped cream can like we did, just go into the supermarket and inhale the whipped cream cans.
All right, well,
but it's an inhalant, and a lot of kids in poor neighborhoods start with inhalants. I started with glue and rug cleaner and whippets myself as a kid. And if you go to Alaska, the Inuits use gasoline. I had a group of Native Americans the other day from a tribe outside of Billings, Montana, that I was talking to, and all of them started with gasoline, using hefty bags and getting the gasoline at the bottom of the bag and keeping the bag under your coat all day and just inhaling the fumes from gasoline. And they were all laughing. They said, "How did you know that? You're a white dude." And I said, "Bro, that's not off my radar, bro." But they said that's one of the biggest problems on the res is inhaling gasoline. So Whippet's in that league. Glue is in that league. Inhalants, a dust. Oh my God, the office duster that you use to clean your computer. We once took a group in from a rehab to go shopping at Office Max, and they all stole the duster and took it back to their rooms and were inhaling it. Big mistake.
Does that cause any more severe brain damage than?
Oh yeah, yeah, it can. Yeah, absolutely. If you abuse that, if you abuse glue and inhalants, absolutely.
Okay, because that's kind of what I was hearing about.
Yeah.
Is that it can, that the Whippet can really cause.
All of them, all the inhalants are in a class by themselves, as that psychiatrist from London is probably well aware. And I'm just saying the demographic for that is usually lower class, working class kids who don't have access to regular medication or regular drugs and alcohol.
Wow. All right. Packer Jack, you know what they say, people who live in Bass houses. That's pretty
good. It's so funny that I think it was the day before she got elected or the day after. It was the second time they broke into her house and stole her guns. So people were saying, A, why does she have guns? And B, she didn't even solve the case or press charges. And then they try to rob her house again. This is the mayor. This is the mayor. They found these guys in the bushes dressed in black with black hoods about to break into her house for a second time. I think it's in Hancock Park, a very upscale neighborhood, and they let them go and they said, why? Well, they didn't break in. We caught them outside. They hadn't broken in, so she released them.
Wow. Amazing. Steve McMahon, the question is, what is being used on Bongino to suck, and who is doing it?
That's really a question that I'm not really concerned with. It's not my problem. Barnes was talking about it yesterday, and Viva were talking about it. I don't give a shit. If you had a vulnerability, as Barnes pointed out, don't take the job. I mean, don't give up your multi-million-dollar media empire to take this job because you're vulnerable to something that they whip out the first day you're in office. Or, it could be that you have little children. They show you their kids, your kids are threatened. Okay, you knew that going in. You knew that going in. You shouldn't have taken the job.
Yeah, I don't know. That's troubling. Pew Pew, good show as always. Heading over to ad-free locals.
Thank you, Pew Pew, for saying that. I should have said it at the beginning of the show. I am trying to get this message out to these people who are on the spectrum who cannot physically watch ads when they watch the show a couple of days later. And they just lose their minds watching ads. And no matter how many times I've told them, or the general public, that they could watch it ad-free, as Pew Pew has righteously told us, they just can't even navigate that. I think they may be on a gurney with no arms or legs, just strapped down in a psych ward, being forced to watch these things, like some sort of British science fiction movie or something.
That could be it. I think you're onto something. It's definitely
the rage that they have. You've read these comments, Eric, where I'm done. I'm unsubbing. I can't watch these effing ads anymore on YouTube. I don't have to put up with this. I'm going, dude, just watch it on locals.
Yeah, there's 208 people over there right now.
And they're not having a heart attack. They're watching it ad-free.
Yeah. And we'll be hanging out with them after a few. We even tack on a little at the end. Al Gonzalez with $10. A general consensus of law enforcement in New York is Patel and Bongino are in over their heads.
Yeah.
The stress on their faces talking about Epstein is the classic giveaway to any investigator.
I think these are amateur hour cops. I don't think these. Thanks, Al, because I happen to agree with you on this. I just think they're in over their heads. They've been out of the business for a long time, especially Bongino. They are in over their heads. They could have been consultants. They could have been people in a kitchen cabinet for Trump. But these are mega bureaucracies. They are so huge. I was worried about this with HHS, with RFK. He's never run anything this size before. So I brought that up with the RFK thing. But yeah, I think these guys are in over their heads.
Good point. They're not like a Honan, who obviously
Homan.
Can handle.
I think his name is Homan.
Homan.
Yeah.
Who can handle that kind of.
But he was working for ICE.
And he's a hardcore. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But I'm saying that was Homan's job beforehand. He was working in that area before.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, these guys have not been anywhere near this thing for a long time.
Yeah, we need somebody like a Kelly or somebody, somebody who's been in extreme high level law enforcement,
right?
That can go in there and know how things are maneuvered and they go around. I mean, I don't know, but it's just a mess. They're in over their head, and
they're in over their heads, bro. They're in over there. They look like they were so stressed out. They were walking with Maria Bartiromo the other day, going through there, and I thought their heads were going to explode. She was kind of loosey goosey. She's going, "What's this? What's that?" They were showing a wall of FBI agents who had been killed in the line of duty. And he just kept repeating himself, Bongino, over and over again, misstating his own position, misquoting himself. It was really tough to watch.
Yeah. Sean Lucan gifted 10 America's Untold Stories memberships. Thank you very much, Sean. And then Traffic is back, the band and the viewer with the
Low Spark of High Heel Boys.
Gifted 5 Untold Stories memberships. By the way, answer me this with the classic rock front, if you will.
Yeah.
Starkey, I forget his first name.
Richard?
Zach Starkey.
His son, Zach.
Yeah, I think it's Zach Starkey.
Yeah.
Who was the Who drummer from 1996 till earlier this year, was fired from the Who. He was hired back to the Who. And then now he's been fired again, but he's fired again. And then now he wasn't fired; he was retired. Do you?
I don't know. You're in a world here where the bands are basically retired themselves. It's not like these are active bands. I mean,
well, no, they're on a tour right now.
Okay, but these are these are tours of old men. I mean, they're not really active bands, Eric. I mean, these are always like these setup tours with greatest hits things, and they go out. I mean, come on. I mean, the Eagles are in the Sphere right now in Las Vegas. They're not exactly at the top of their game, as a performing band. But I'll recommend the Led Zeppelin documentary. That's absolutely riveting. Just came out. I think it's called Becoming Led Zeppelin or something. Absolutely fascinating. Jason Bonham audio, no real film of Jason Bonham, a lot of audio. And then the rest of the band, absolutely spot on. And incredible performance footage never released of Led Zeppelin. Holy crap, is this a great rock documentary?
Where is it?
I don't know. I don't know where it is, but it's somewhere.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
There's so many streaming services. I feel like
just Google it. You just go. It's probably on multiple things. I'm not sure.
All right.
In the theaters. I mean, I don't know where these things are, but I saw it, and holy crap, is it worth the price of admission?
All right.
I think it's called Becoming Led Zeppelin, something like that. Fantastic doc. A lot of these music docs suck. They're just like some behind the music type thing. This is not. This is the definitive documentary of Led Zeppelin. I had no idea. I mean, they're studio musicians before this. They're working with all kinds of artists as studio musicians. Then there's
Jimmy
the art.
Page was definitely a studio guy.
Well, so was John Paul Jones, and
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
and they would, they become the Yardbirds, and then branch off into and create Led Zeppelin. But it's a fascinatingly well done, high budget documentary.
Yeah, didn't he work with Jeff Beck and Clapton?
Yeah,
or they traded places.
Yeah,
in
absolutely,
the same,
absolutely.
I forgot the other band name, but they were all in it. Heather, whatever. You guys are great. Well, thank you, Heather. You are pretty great yourself. And this was an important one. Pirate Ken. Ahoy, Eric. I will be at the swashbuckling Hampton Roads Blackbeard Festival. Hope to see you. You can't miss me. I'll be dressed as a pirate. There's going to be a lot of pirates there this weekend.
Right? Or
I'm sorry?
Aren't they everyone dressed as a pirate? Or
well, a lot of the Blackbeard Festival is happening this coming weekend. And there are pirates who kind of go around and tour. They do a reenactment of Blackbeard's battle on the water every year. And they have, like, in the park, different pirates who are doing things of the period, reenactors, like cooking food, firing cannons, it's really cool thing.
Fantastic.
Have you ever been to Colonial Williamsburg? It's that kind of thing where they just reenact
I've been
the period.
The Renaissance Fair.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like that,
where they have jousting and they have different arts and crafts. But as kids, every year in Brooklyn public schools, and maybe the other public schools, I'm not sure about the others, but they used to take us to Staten Island to a Dutch Reform village that was set in the 1500s or maybe 1600s. That was like a Dutch village in New York from when, I guess, 1609, when Henry Hudson came down the Hudson River. So I guess it was 1600s. Yeah. So they had this entire village with thatched huts and everything. And they would take us every year. They were making butter. They were churning butter, Eric, and they were dressed as Dutch people from the 1600s on Staten Island. And we thought growing up that that's how people on Staten Island lived. Oh, and our parents never told us. I guess it was an inside joke for our parents. They let us believe that poor Staten Island was stuck in the 1600s.
Amish, watch out.
Right. It was kind of like an Amish thing. That's what we thought. And we thought they lived like that, everyone on Staten Island. And we go, how do they make butter, Ma? Why can't they go to the grocery like you? Well, and my mother would play along saying, well, they have to make it from scratch. It's really sad. And she would,
your mom's Ruth Payne?
Well, she had that voice for a while. We took her to therapy and she got it out. But nevertheless, she would play along with our stupidity, jerking us around saying this is how they lived in Staten Island.
Oh, well,
little did we know that the real gangsters lived on Toad Hill, was really run by the mafia, and they all lived in these luxurious homes in Toad Hill, which is a high-class neighborhood in Staten Island.
That's too funny. Well, considering what you did with your mother coming back from your summer camp or whatever, you deserved every bit of it.
Oh, believe me, I deserved every single thing. Absolutely. I did things that no son should ever do to his mother. I mean, I made her a brooch for Mother's Day. I think it was in 4th grade. And you had to pour like a plaster of Paris into a gift box, put a safety pin behind it once you broke it out. In other words, you put plaster of Paris in this little gift box. You sprinkled some cosmetic jewelry on top of it. It's set with a safety pin behind it. And then you presented it to your mother, who came to class to get this pin on Mother's Day that we each made. So my mother took it, put it on, and it was so heavy that it ripped her blouse, exposing her tit to the entire class. I swear to God, you can't make this up. And then she smacked me in the face. And I deserved it because I purposely made it as heavy as a brick to do just that.
Oh, my God.
I'm sorry, Mom.
Oh, my God.
May she rest in peace.
That's almost a terrible story. My dad used to talk about how his mother, because he grew up and his mom would hit him with a stick or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. All the brothers, and she would make them go fetch a stick. So he was talking about how they would go out there and buy and find the heaviest, biggest stick that they could find because it would tire her out.
Oh, that's a good idea. I like that idea. Yeah, my mother used an Adirondack bat on me, and it was my own bat, which was really cruel.
But deserved. Well, we're going to shift this conversation over.
Oh, yeah, it'll get more violent once we get to locals, because I have some more details of these beatings that I can't talk about on YouTube because of Child Protective Services. There's no statute of limitations for beating of children. By the way, did you see that they found a secret room underneath this child daycare center the other day? They found 26 children down there. The police showed up. This chick had a license for 6 children, and she had 26 in a basement room down there, dirty and filthy, I guess to get more members or, more kids for the business. But holy crap, it reminded me of the McMartin case.
Yeah, except the McMartin case was disproven. But,
right. Wow. This is not disproven. This
they got
she was arrested, and it's going to do like 6 years on this beef.
Only 6 years? God. Sometimes.
Well, it wasn't sexual. You know what I mean? It was more like a violation of code because she wasn't torturing them or doing anything sexual. It was that she had 26 of them in the basement hiding when the cops showed up.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, I have to add that to it.
Well, no, I'm glad you did, because that's far less disturbing than.
Right. But she's still getting, I think, 6 years for that.
Yeah. Oof. All right. Well, on that note, we are going to head over to locals. Remember, there's a link down below. You can join it for free if you just want to check it out, see what's going on, get to watch things ad free, and you don't have to pay for it. So why not?
I would do it. I would do it, but I'm not in the business anymore. If I was in the business, I would do it because I'd be like you at home and thinking, you know, honey, maybe Eric and Mark are right. It doesn't cost us anything. We could join and just look around for free and, you know, see what they have over there. Who the hell knows what they're doing over there?
Who knows? But maybe you'll find out today.
Yeah.